What's up, y'all? So I know this is a little late. Uh, I want to talk about my thoughts on Wilder Fury 2. And before I start, I have to admit, in my predictions, I was obviously wrong on the heights. I said Wilder was 6'4", and Fury was 6'7". I was way off on that. I should have done my research and apologize for that. Uh, fight didn't go the fight didn't go the way I thought it would as far as in the game plan for Fury. Uh, he went with the opposite approach. Obviously, he wanted to be the one dictating uh, the ring generalship. He wanted to be the forward moving fighter. Uh, he wanted to be the forward moving fighter and to be able to sink more weight into his shots, I reckon. Instead of, like in the first fight where he throw a jab, right hook, and then L step out or something like that. Um, you know, I've listened to other opinions on it, and and he basically just wanted to do, or he learned from the last fight that in that 12th round when he got back up from the dead, that when he's moving forward on Wilder is not as effective. And the thing about it was that Wilder, for him, it's easier for him to land that, um, or how he knocks people out usually, or how he lands that right hand rather, is either when he throws that his lead to gauge the distance, and he's taking that step forward, that huge step forward, and then shooting in that right hand behind it. Well, if he has to constantly move back, then then it's a bit of a guessing game on the right hand for him. Uh, and yeah, I mean, from the start of the fight, uh, he he had to move back the whole fight, which is something he's not used to doing, as you everyone could tell from watching that fight. He wasn't used to moving back, and his defense was very similar. Like in that first round, before the first knockdown, his defense was very similar to not to discredit Wilder or anything, but it's very similar to like if you see street fights where most guys, the head movement that they use, they lean back on everything, but he was attempting to roll on the shots, but it's like the Chris Weidman Anderson Silva thing. How Weidman knocked Anderson out. When you roll a, you roll your left shoulder to and roll with the left hand of your opponent to take the sting off of that left hand, and vice versa with the right. So it made the defense of Wilder a lot easier for Fury to read. Uh, and then once yeah, once the jab started landing for Fury, Wilder tried to make the adjustment and slipped that jab at the same time. He was turning away uh, from Fury, looking away from Fury, and and that's definitely what helped cause the equilibrium, uh, his equilibrium to get knocked off. Um, a lot of I know a lot of there's a lot of fans of Wilder that were wanting to say that that was an illegal shot, that he was deliberately trying to hit him in the back of the head. In reality, uh, once it's like once you move your head, if I'm already in the process of trying to hit you, if I'm already in the process of trying to hit you with something, you know, wherever I land, that's on the defendant, you know. That was on that was on Wilder, because he turned his head away. At the same time, it was like a behind the ear shot anyway. It might have been just behind the ear where he landed that on that first knockdown. Uh, Other than that, he did, Fury. Other than the pressure, he was smothering his shots a lot, but that was all a part of the game plan. Obviously, he wanted the reason why he had more weight in this fight than the last one is because he wanted to rest that weight on Wilder, which is something else that Wilder hasn't experienced before. And what I saw in those positions was Fury. Fury always had control of Wilder and his posture. You know, either he had good head pressure on Wilder, pushing on his chin with his forehead or the crown of his head, pushing his head back and controlling his posture when he had him on the ropes, or obviously when he would duck down and try to duck the jab or duck the right hand to avoid those shots, he would just uh, grab a hold of that head, place his weight forward on him. So, and really to me, that was akin to like a boxer versus a wrestler in a lot of ways. You know, in those positions, Fury had the superior wrestling, essentially. And, all that contributed something that Wilder never experienced before. The fact that he had to constantly move, which if anyone's got him, if I can remember, if anyone was winning against Wilder and they had him on the ropes, they were kind of they were moving around Wilder to take dominant angles against him to land. Like I can't remember his name, the last guy Wilder knocked out, where he would keep Wilder's left hand out of play, and he'd keep Wilder's left hand out of play, and then parry it down, look for straight, look for his left hand, his own left hand on Wilder. I didn't see, but from what I've seen of Wilder's fights, I've never seen someone who not only uh, was the ring general against Wilder, but was also making Wilder move constantly. That up until the first knockdown, that was definitely taking its toll on Wilder, as well as the clinches, and then those shots in the and then those shots Fury was landing in the clinch. Um, but after that first knockdown, you know, once Wilder's equilibrium was shot, he had he obviously had problems getting control of his motor functions, of his legs, of his movement, and and adding on top of that, having to wrestle every time they get clinched up, and still having to move backwards every when they were at distance. So he was essentially after that point, he was essentially in a perpetual state of exhaustion as he was getting beaten up. And it was amazing to see, like, when they were in the clinch, Fury always had, well, he didn't always have control of that right hand, of the right arm of Wilder. It was either he was so close that Wilder could only throw arm punches around the side of Fury's hand, which had no power, or if there was a little bit more space, like this one instance, he had bicep control on Wilder's right arm. The only way to avoid that, Wilder would have to swing that right arm on the inside, is a standard clinch wrestling technique he would have to utilize. I always, watching boxing matches, especially, well, really after being an MMA fan, I always wondered what would happen if more of these boxers would, maybe not take up wrestling because you have so much there, because so much of training is in boxing is a is focused on conditioning and perfecting your technique, but learning the fundamentals of clinch wrestling and using it to your favor. Whether it's to get someone off of you or to control someone, you know, and land shots, I guess. Now, I don't know the exact the rules, or what is considered an opponent, as far as like when a clinch happens in boxing. I don't know exactly when you're considered a fighter that's holding their opponent, and when you can strike or whatever. Yeah, I don't fully understand the rules yet on that exactly. Um, but it's all on me because I don't look up the rules of boxing. Whenever I watch a fight or whatever, I'm probably gonna start doing that or looking that up or whatever. To my understanding, it's like, I guess because of MMA, I got more of like an understanding from like a wrestling perspective of what's holding and what's not. So to me, it's like with no complete understanding of the rules when a clinch happens in boxing, if you have any type of hook on the opponent, underhook, overhook, if you have head, if you're if you've got collar tie on your opponent, to me that would fall under the rules of you're holding the opponent, you know. So if you're striking the opponent while you have any type of hook or a collar tie or whatever, I as to me, I I would say that's probably considered punching while holding, you know. So, but if you've seen enough boxing matches, every fighter tries to in those positions. You know in those positions, a fighter that's holding will try to sneak a shot in or two, you know. But that was a part of Fury's game plan. He did as you he did get a point taken away. Uh, I think for that, but he didn't care because he already he with his game plan, he knew the game plan was working, and Wilder was just he wasn't there to at that point he wasn't there to be a mate. He wasn't near the threat he was in the first round or in the first fight. So he knew that he was going to finish him, you know. So he was going to continue with the same game plan. It wouldn't matter to him if he lost 3 points because he knew he was going to finish him before the fight ended. So as far as I can, as far as my final thoughts on it, Fury had a phenomenal performance against Wilder. Uh, I know Wilder has said things about about his costume or whatever. You know, I'm not Deontay Wilder. I don't, and I don't have the brain to calculate the weight of that costume or whatever, so I don't know how much it weighs or anything. Um, if it had an effect on him, if it had an effect on his muscles and was using energy, and if it did weigh that much and it did take energy away from him, then for me that's that just kind of that makes me think that he was kind of overlooking Fury, like because of the two knockdowns he got in his first fight with Fury. He was confident that he would demolish him in this one, especially when you look at his track record. Whenever he rematched somebody, he always just he always finished the fight in devastating fashion. So, um, if that was the case, if the costume did weigh that much and it did take a toll, the fact that he wore it that long, or that he even considered wearing a fully detailed costume like that, to me it shows that he was overlooking Fury, and you know, it was beyond being confident in winning the fight. It was simply overlooking him, sleeping on him. So, but if not, and to me, what I saw, it was just that he never experienced anything like that in competition. Constantly being the dude on the back foot, having someone rest their weight on you, and also getting hurt in a fight. You know, he doesn't believe he was hurt from that shot. And usually, when you get hit in the head, when it's from a whether it's a shot that takes your equilibrium, or a concuss, or like a shot that rocks you or something, they you won't feel pain from that, but that doesn't mean that it's hurting you. That doesn't mean that it shook your brain in your head or anything, because it definitely did that. It had that first knockdown definitely had that effect, and it was just he never experienced that before. I know boxing's, especially when it comes to their champions, they're all about um, rematches, and don't want to see I don't want to see a rematch between Fury and Wilder at all this year, anytime soon, because that for Fury, that is the game plan against Wilder. If they were to fight, I think if they were to fight later on this year, again, it would be the same result. It might be longer. I would see Fury being, or Wilder rather, being way more aggressive in that, being way more aggressive, especially in the early rounds, and would be looking to be the ring general. So that would be interesting to see if Fury can create angles and take the center of the ring. I mean, you know, Wilder could have a better chance if they rematch at the end of this year, but I would rather not see that because I believe it would be the same result. I'm more interested in Fury fighting Joshua to unify the belts, and Wilder, you know, maybe later on this year taking a fight with one of the contenders in the WBC heavyweight division. Rebuilding his name, especially if he can win, which likely he would win against almost anyone else. You know. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Wilder Fury 2. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you like my content, make sure you like, subscribe, comment. I really enjoyed this. This was fun to do. I won't be making a breakdown on or I won't be making a prediction video on the fight card this weekend for the UFC. I think Israel Adesanya is gonna fight Romero next Saturday. I think it's March 8th, so I don't know. That would probably be the Saturday after next, something like that. I'm gonna look that up. Either way, um, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, like I said, and I hope you enjoy the fights this weekend. It's me signing off. Y'all take it easy.